Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
And Good Yontif.
Good Yontif.
I think that covers all the bases. It's so wonderful to see all of you, and as we come together to greet this new year, we say Good Yontif, Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova to everyone who's joining us from home. It's so good to have you with us as well. And before we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to find your cell phone, and please make sure that it's either off or on silent, because we wouldn't want them to disturb the service for you and for those about you. We have a service supplement with a couple of songs that are not in our Machzor, and we're going to begin welcoming the angels of Shabbat with Shalom Aleichem, and it's on the song supplement, and we invite you to join along.
It's number 1 on your supplement, which was next to the Machzor. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem l'Shalom, Malchei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon.
So there was an old, tired-looking dog that wanders into a man's yard. And the man examines the dog. He sees the collar. He sees a very full belly. He knows this dog belongs to somebody. And the dog follows him right into the house and jumps on the couch. does a couple of those circles like dogs like to do, gets comfortable, and lies down and falls asleep. The man thinks, that's rather odd, but he lets the dog sleep. And after about an hour, the dog wakes up. He walks out the door, wags his tail, and leaves. Next day, dog comes back, scratches on the door. Guy opens the door, dog comes in again, jumps on the couch, does the circle again, gets comfortable, lies down. Once again, falls asleep, and the man lets him sleep. After about an hour, the dog wakes up, goes to the door, the guy lets him out, the dog wags his tail and leaves. This goes on day after day for about 2 weeks. And the guy grows really curious. So he pins a note to the dog's collar. Your dog has been taking a nap at my house every day. Next day, dog arrives with another note pinned to his collar. He lives in a home with 4 children. He's trying to catch up on his sleep. Can I come with him tomorrow?
Nice.
Aren't we all a little bit like that dog and its owner? Sometimes we just need to get away from our hectic, noisy lives. We need to rest and rejuvenate our tired souls so that we can be the best version of ourselves. That's what Shabbat is about each week. And that's what these high holy days are certainly about. They're about renewal. They're about change. A chance to start off this new year on the right foot. So with that in mind, let us turn to one another, greet those about you with Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. Those of you joining us from home, why don't you share our greeting in the chat so you can be heard as well.
Oh, okay. Shove past you. Oh yeah, that's always a mess.
Yeah, I last minute, I'm like, oh, I meant to take all this out, put it in here. Josh,
I did that, and it wasn't helpful. And we know it all.
Welcome back.
And we join in now with a beautiful version of Lecha Dodi number 2 in our supplement.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat negamela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat negamela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat negamela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, Hashem u'tiferet v'letila, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat
Our service continues now in our Machzor on page 13 with the lighting of the candles for Shabbat. And this evening we are honoring, with the lighting of the candles, Paul Fairbrook, who just 2 weeks ago celebrated his 100th birthday. Unfortunately, Paul is not with us physically this evening, but he's with us in spirit, and he might even be watching on the live stream, and if so, happy birthday, Paul. And we're also honoring Bill and Kathy Meyer, who are very good friends of Paul Fairbrook and wonderful supportive members of our congregation and community, to come up and light the candles.
In honor of Paul.
You know, Paul has always done so much in his life, a life really of service, and we owe him so much gratitude. For our country, he was a Ritchie boy, came as an immigrant from Germany to this country. He used his German skills as a Ritchie boy, translating documents, Nazi documents that helped the war effort. And when he came to Stockton, he was at UOP, the food services director, and is nationally known for his work in his field. And he took that expertise and was so helpful at St. Mary's all through the years, and helped them to design and build their dining hall and kitchen, which is named in his honor. And I have to share with you a wonderful quote from Paul on a card from St. Mary's. This is a quote from him. "People need praise like they need fresh air." Tonight, Paul, we praise you and thank you for all you have always done for our community.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov.
And because this is Yontif, it's traditional to add a Hashivenu. And so we're giving thanks to God for giving us life, for sustaining us in life, and for bringing us to celebrate this special time. And we're saying it also this evening in honor of Paul's 100th birthday, and in honor of so many people who've had some pretty good news in the last few weeks. Let's join in Shehecheyanu.
We are on page 13. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu
We continue on the bottom of page 13. B'chodesh hashvi'i, b'achad l'chodesh yeh lechem Shabbaton, zicharon teruah mikra kodesh, kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be a sacred assembly, a cessation from work, a day of commemoration proclaimed by the sounding of the shofar. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, shetilchadesh aleinu v'al kol beit Yisrael et Hashana hazot, shnat chameshet alafim v'sheva ma'ot b'shmonim v'arba, l'chayim u'l'shalom, l'sason u'l'simcha, l'shu'ah u'l'nechama v'nomar, Amen. May this new year, called 5784, bring to us and the whole house of Israel life and peace, joy and exaltation, redemption and comfort. And let us say, Amen. We rise either physically or in spirit as we join together in our call to worship the Baruch Hu.
We're on the top of page 15.
Day and night, show us the way, teaching us to number our days, when we rise and when we lie down.
And once again, we rise physically or in spirit as we join together for Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
may be seated. Thank our young adults for singing so beautifully. And I want you to appreciate how unusual this is. You know, I chat with my colleagues, many who are in congregations twice or three times as large as ours, and I mention, oh yes, we have this great choir of young adults, kids who grew up at the temple. They're now in their 20s and their 30s, and they're joined by a few young adults who've come along the way and become a part of our community, and they love to sing every year at the high holidays and look at me like, really? How do you do that? Well, partly it's due to Lindy, I would say, and partly due to the love for our community. And we've watched them. They were in the junior choir and then Shirat Noar, and now they're wonderful young adults, and they love to come back, and we love having them here. They add so much warmth to our service. Thank you so much, young adults, and we look forward to hearing more from you. And our service continues where, Lindy?
On page 16 with the Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha va'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha ne'etor b'kodesh, Nora 19, Hashivenu. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashivenu, Lecha Dodi. Ve'amidenu, Shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu, Shukat shlomecha. Hashivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashivenu, Leshalom. There be love and understanding among us. Peace and friendship be our shelter. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Yeshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat. La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat. La'asot et Hashabbat ledorotam brit olam. Beini ubein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai. Et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'hi nafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat. La'asot et hashabbat ledorotam brit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat. We rise physically or in our hearts as we continue on page 18 with the chanting of Amidah. Adonai, Sifatai Tifta, Ufi Agita Hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Be'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham.
You know, the work of these Yamim HaNoraim, these days of awe, is tshuva, which we so often translate as repentance. And indeed, this is the season where we repent our transgressions, where we ask forgiveness for the things we know we've done wrong, and especially amongst ourselves and our friends and our families, the ones we love. But tshuva actually means to turn or to return. Hidden in tshuva is the word shuv, and it means turn, literally, to turn. And so this is a time for us to do a cheshbon nefesh, to look inside and do an accounting of our souls and think about where we maybe have strayed from the path, and to correct the mistakes that we've made if we can, and to get back onto that path that we want to live our lives on. The path of goodness, the path of love, the path of righteousness. We want to turn and to return. So as we pause for a few moments of silent meditation, I invite you to close your eyes, if that is something you're comfortable doing. Think about the year that has passed, and think about how you want to turn or return to the path on which you live your best life.
Actually on page 12 together. I invite you to sing this beautiful Hashivenu prayer, talking about returning to love, to truth, to God.
We return.
page 21.
We rise physically or in spirit. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we come before you in our brokenness.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'al Olalenu V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever V'cherev V'ra'av Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, protect us from sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar Umastin Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, protect us from those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, Katvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to make this year a good year.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu Va'anenu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim, Aseh Imanu Tzedakah V'Chesed V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us and answer us, even when we have little merit. Treat us generously and with kindness, and be our help. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu. That's bigger. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Hatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Me'ol Aleinu, V'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, V'cherev V'ra'av, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar, Umastin, Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kodesh B'Sefer Chaim. Avinu Malkeinu, Kodesh Aleinu,
Avinu Malkeinu, Haneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Haneinu Vaneinu, Ki Eimanu Ma'asim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshienu, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed, V'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Haneinu Vaneinu, Haneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Haneinu Vaneinu, Ki Eimanu Ma'asim.
Please be seated. As I'm certain many of you have noticed, our music, well, all the time, but especially during these high holidays, is a fusion of contemporary melodies mixed in with the old melodies, some which I swear must have come down with the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai. Others were written for sure in the 18th century, 19th century, and for that, you have to have that wonderful organ patch, right? Push that button and pray that it will work. And thank you, Don. Sorry about the technical glitches. Not your fault. Well, I want to tell you a story this evening that has a coda, and then it has a second coda. And in case you're not sure, a coda is an additional ending to an ending or a beautiful dramatic finale. Usually when we speak of a coda, we're usually thinking about in music or in ballet, but the same is true for a story or in literature. And so this story has not one but two codas. And I heard this story on a podcast recently, the source of all great Torah. And the context for this story is college baseball. Now, if you're not a college baseball fan and you have never seen an inning or even a single play of college baseball, as I have not either, it doesn't matter because this story is about life. So there's a college in Winston-Salem, North Carolina called Wake Forest. And Wake Forest has a baseball team called the Demon Deacons. And the Demon Deacons have been totally mediocre for almost 70 years. They last won the College World Series in 1955, and it's been downhill ever since. In 2010, they hired a new coach named Tom Walker with great hope that he might be able to turn things around. Tom Walter understood that the make it or break it deal with college sports programs is recruitment. You have to find star high school athletes and then do your best to encourage them to come and play for your program. So in Tom Walter's first year as coach at Wake Forest, he hears about a promising high school outfielder from Alpharetta, Georgia, named Kevin Jordan. Kevin Jordan, in baseball speak, was considered a five-tool player. I had no idea about any of this until I listened to the podcast. Now that means that he could hit for power. He hit home runs. He could hit to get on base, singles, doubles, triples. He could run. He could throw. He could play superb defense. In fact, Kevin Jordan was such a superstar that when he was a junior in high school, he was drafted by the New York Yankees. And all of the best college recruiters from the best baseball programs were also landing on his doorstep. When you graduate, please come and play for us. So Tom Walter decides to pay a call on Kevin Jordan. He comes all the way from North Carolina to Alpharetta, and he sits with Kevin and his parents in their living room. Now, mind you, his program was the most undistinguished program in the country. He really had no chance. But something unexpected happened in the living room of Kevin Jordan's home in Georgia that day. Tom Walter said to him, and he said to his parents, listen, if you come and play for Wake Forest, I will take care of you. I will be with you. I will care about you. And the unexpected thing is that Kevin Jordan actually believed him. And what's more, Kevin Jordan's parents believed him. And so they said no to the New York Yankees. And they said no to all the powerhouse baseball programs. And they said yes to mediocre Wake Forest, who last won the World Series in 1955, because they believed that Tom Walters was a mensch. Now roll the film forward. In his senior year of high school, something happened to Kevin Jordan, and his health began to falter. He couldn't hold down food. He lost strength and he lost a lot of weight, and he was getting slower and weaker. He saw so many doctors, every doctor in Georgia, it seems, and they could not diagnose what was going on. As you can imagine, his performance on the high school baseball field dropped precipitously. But you know what? Wake Forest still honored his scholarship. So he comes to Wake Forest his freshman year, and he goes, and he's now officially not the superstar athlete that he had been as a junior in high school. In fact, he needs to take 35 pills a day. And he needs to be on dialysis 3 times a week just to stay alive. Finally, he's diagnosed with having a very rare autoimmune kidney disease, and the pills and the dialysis will keep him alive, but the only way that he's going to actually be able to stay alive and to have a life is if he gets a kidney transplant. And as you may know, there are more people who need a kidney transplant than kidneys that are available. If you're on the donor list, you have just to be very patient and wait a good long time, and time was the only thing that Kevin Jordan did not have. All of the members of the extended family were tested, but unfortunately nobody was a match. And when Tom Walters, Kevin's coach, hears his story, he says, I'll get tested. And he gets tested, and turns out he's a match. And when he hears that he's a match, he doesn't hesitate. He says, I'm happy to donate one of my kidneys to you. And so on February the 7th, 2011, at Emory University, Tom Walter donates a kidney to Kevin Jordan. And within a few days, after waking up from the kidney transplant, Kevin Jordan starts to feel dramatically better. And within a month, he's back at Wake Forest going to school. And shortly thereafter, he gets the green light from his doctors that he can resume his athletic activities. and try and rebuild his career as a baseball player. 1 year and 1 month after the kidney transplant, Kevin Jordan is back on the baseball field. It's a miracle. Now, the story, before we get to the first and second coda, ends with Kevin Jordan alive because he has Tom Walter's kidney. He is playing baseball for the Wake Forest Demon Diamonds, but from a strict point of view of baseball performance, his is disappointing. On the field, he is not the star athlete he had been. He clearly does not become the amazing superstar baseball player that he would have been if he had not had that near fatal illness and this kidney transplant. But thank God, he's alive, thanks to Tom Walter, and he's on the field. End of story. Now comes the first coda. The first coda is that in the spring of 2020, George Floyd is murdered by a Minneapolis police officer. Remember? We all heard the news this summer about the consent decree that's going to be enforced and about the Justice Department's finding about the systemic racism in the Minneapolis Police Department. And you remember that in the spring of 2020, our nation was convulsed with unrest, and there was a very intense conversation about race and racism, and systemic racism, and police brutality, and that there was a lot of intense emotion all around. And it was in that context that a friend of Tom Walter, who meant well, I'm sure, said to him, "Wait a minute, how could you even donate your kidney to Kevin Jordan? How would that even work? Because, by the way, Tom Walter is white and Kevin Jordan is black." His friend said, "Can a white person's kidney actually even be transplanted to a black person? Would it even take? Would it even work?" And when his friend asked this question, Tom Walter realized, "Lord, we have so much work to do. We have so much education to do." So his next call was to Kevin Jordan. And he said to Kevin, "We have to start a new organization. And the mantra of our organization is going to be my blood and his blood are the same. And we need to go on the road and we need to talk about how a white man and a black man did a kidney transplant, one to the other, and it doesn't matter about the color of their skin because my blood and his blood is the same." So Tom Walter and Kevin Jordan formed this organization called Get in the Game. And they take it on the road, and they talk about building bridges and healing the racial divide in our country. That's the first coda. Now comes the second. Did I tell you that the last time Wake Forest was in the College World Series was in 1955? And did I mention that they had been historically mediocre for almost 70 years? Well, this last season, the 2023 season of the College World Series, Wake Forest was in the series for the first time in almost 70 years. Well, it didn't end up winning, but for several weeks, they were rated number one, the best college baseball team in the country, way up there with LSU, who did win, and Florida and Stanford and Tennessee. And here's my question to you. What is the relationship between the story and the first coda and the second coda? Is there any kind of causal connection between the story and the first coda and the second coda? Put differently, is there a causal connection between Coach Tom Walter's Menschlichkeit, his generous and giving humanity off the baseball field, and Wake Forest's success on the baseball field? Did his Menschlichkeit engender his team's historic success? You know, in Pirkei Avot, a collection of wisdom statements in the Talmud, Ben Azai famously teaches, mitzvah goreret mitzvah, avira goreret avera. It's a song that we sing with our kids in the religious school. Do you know it? Mitzvah goreret mitzvah, avira goreret avera. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah, goreret mitzvah. La 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 la. That's quite enough. Here's the translation. One mitzvah, one act of decency leads to another. And one sin, one act of indecency leads to another. Positive energy has momentum, and it leads to more positive energy. And negative energy has momentum too, and it leads to negative energy. And what Ben Azai teaches us is just so important. And it applies to 100% of all of us in this sanctuary this evening, and to those of you joining us at home, which is simply this: that all the days of our lives are interconnected. All the chapters of our lives form a coherent book, our own book of life. Our past, what we did yesterday, shapes our present, and what we do today will shape our future. We are all an energy force field. And the question is, what kind of energy are we radiating out? Because the positive energy we radiate out will come back to us. And the negative energy that we radiate out will also come back to us, because mitzvah goreret mitzvah, one act of decency leads to another. And avira goreret avira, one avera, one act of indecency leads to another. Which brings us to the College World Series, where Wake Forest was a serious contender for the first time in 70 years. Could it be that high school star baseball players and their parents in the last several years heard about and were attracted to the Menschlichkeit of Tom Walter? Could it be that when Tom Walter went into their living rooms and he sat down on their couch and he said, "If your child comes to my program, I will take care of him," that they actually believed him? Because they knew he actually gave his kidney, his own kidney, to Kevin Jordan so that Kevin Jordan could live. And could it be that as a result of that, star players started coming to Wake Forest? And as a result of that, they had more energy in the program and more success on the field, and that generated more interest, and more star players came, and that generated more success. And what you had was a self-fulfilling cycle of virtue. A mitzvah goreret mitzvah. And could it be that in this age of polarization and toxic division, parents and players were really attracted to the story of a guy who says, my blood and his blood are the same. Someone who, off the baseball field, is committed to healing and building and bringing unity to our tormented land. And they said, I want to play for him. Our story generates a coda, and it generates a second coda. And that is true for Tom Walter, and that is true for every one of us. There's another short story I heard recently that I think is connected in a very important way. It happened at a birthday party for someone who had just turned 60. And people flew in from around the country to be there for this milestone birthday. And people were sharing about what they loved about this woman who had just turned 60. And it was all nice and it was lovely. And when it came time for her nephew to speak, and he had flown in through the night, he had taken a red eye to be there. And the minute the party was over, he was going to fly back home. In other words, he made it his business to be there. He turned his life upside down to be there. And when it came time for him to speak, he said, let me tell you why I'm here now. And he shared his story that when he was in high school, he always dreamed of playing college basketball. And he devoted his first 17 years to playing basketball and to making the NCAA. And he was actually pretty successful. And he was invited to the McDonald's basketball tournament, and that was going to be his make it or break it moment. Scouts were there, coaches were there, the best high school players in the world were all there. And finally he gets his time on the court, and he jumps up for the rebound, and he jumps really high, and he falls awkwardly, and he falls and he breaks his shoulder. He's taken from the court to the hospital, and they put his broken shoulder in a sling. And his big moment came, and his big moment went. He had a broken shoulder, and no coach and no scout knew his name. The next day he finds himself in the airport waiting to fly home, and he's seated on the floor of the airport terminal when he hears that the flight is delayed for 4 hours. His shoulder is broken. His dreams are broken. He's on the floor waiting for 4 hours, crying. And he's never felt so alone. And just then, his aunt, who was also flying out later that day, appeared. And she found him. And she hugged him. And he cried on her shoulders. And she said to him, I understand your pain. You are going to get through this. You are so deeply loved. You are so deeply strong. And she sat with him until 4 hours later he got on the plane. And he said to her, you showed up for me when I was at my worst moment. I really needed you. There is literally no force in the universe that could have stopped me from showing up for you right now. Every story generates a coda. Showing up generates showing up. By the way, not showing up generates not showing up. Supreme Menschlichkeit generates supreme attraction. As we begin this new year, I leave you with just one question. What energy is flowing from you right now.
Shabbat Shalom and Shema Tova. For those of you that don't know me, my name is David Neustadt, and I am honored to be President of Temple Israel's Board of Directors. That's going to be real loud. Start over. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. For those of you that don't know me, my name is David Neustadt, and I am honored to be President of Temple Israel's Board of Directors. First, I would like to thank the immediate past president, Emily Ripken, for her leadership, not only just for the 2 years as president, but all her committed time to the board. I have been asked why I do so much with Temple and for Temple, and here are my reasons. First, I grew up here at Temple. As I went through religious school, I had my bar mitzvah, went through confirmation, and that was a meaningful experience for me. And I wanted the same for my daughters, Mia and Erica, who also grew up at Temple. This year, my grandson Isaac started his Jewish education in our Sunday Learning Lab, and I couldn't be more proud. Second is my family history. I'm a second-generation descendant of Holocaust survivors, so I feel not only a responsibility, but an obligation to those before me. Anyone that is friends on Facebook with Mel Korn most likely read about this, but for those that haven't, I will share a shorter version. My grandparents, Ernest and Minna Neustadt, came to Stockton from Shanghai, China, along with my uncle, Max Meyer, after leaving Germany. Ernest is the one who built the portable ark we have in Rosenberg Hall. It was designed by Mel, and the glasswork done by Joan Samuels. My uncle, Max Meyer, was a bookkeeper for many years here at Temple until his retirement. Then, many of you know Rose Meyer, my grandmother. She came to Stockton with my grandfather, Ernest, from New Jersey. They moved here to be close to Max, his brother. Rose gave so much to Temple, which was like for many of us, a second home with family and friends. None of them had much to give financially, but they gave all they could afford. And they gave so much in love and dedication and with the work of their hands and hearts. Third, I think about our future generations and what we need to leave for them. I want to be sure that we can leave them a thriving temple that has that's been left for us by our predecessors. We all have heard the saying, "It takes a village to raise children." I feel the same pertains to running a synagogue. It's not just our staff that does the day-to-day operations and keep it running, but it takes a congregation to keep the synagogue running. Being generous with volunteering of time is important, but just as important is being generous financially. This means evaluating your annual dues and giving generously according to your means. So this brings me to my very first ask as board president. Please be generous during these high holy days and give that little extra. We have pledge cards in the gallery, or you can make a high holiday donation on our temple website for those that are watching from home. Please think about the needs of our dynamic, wonderful community today, and what would you like to leave for the generations to come. Thank you. Shana Tova. May you have a sweet and happy new year.
Yasher Koach, Dave, well done. And we're very proud of you, knowing your history and your family's history. You have been a part of our community for so many years. And if anything ever needs to be done, Dave just appears out of nowhere. He rolls up his sleeves and he puts in that tough, hard work, whatever it is that needs to be done. But now he's doing it on a new level as our board president. And I must say, you're doing a fantastic job, Dave. Thank you so much for all your hard work and effort. Our service continues on page 22. And we rise either physically or in spirit for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lateit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adam shelo sam kelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz Vayom hahu, Yihyeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad. Please be seated. As you know, at the conclusion, or just before the conclusion of each of our services, we take a quiet moment to remember our loved ones who are no longer here physically with us, but who are with us in a very real way in our hearts and in our good memories. And in this way, they continue to bless and to carry us. And especially during this season, we remember them and we think of them. Many of us have such good memories of sitting in the pews next to parents and grandparents, those special people who are no longer here. We think of them fondly. If there's anyone here who is mourning a recent loss, someone who's died within the last year, I invite you to please stand and share with us the name of your precious loved one. And we invite those of you who are joining us from home to put into the chat the names of loved ones who have died in the past year. The following names are the names of loved ones who have a yortzeit, the anniversary of their death sometime in the year that has passed. If I say the name of your loved one, won't you please stand? Eric Friedman, Barbara Brockman, David Clare, Leonard Kaplan, Elaine Kaplan, Jack Sherman, Paul Yoshino, Jacqueline Burnett, Arthur Galertner, Susanna Lopez, Sigmund Miller, Dorothy Fisher, Marvin Rich, Jean Deviescu, Herman Lohengrund, Gordon Goldberg, Pauline Mayer, Ethel Sisman, Bernice Boivy, Aaron Bronstein, Gerald Crane, Jonas Gill, Mena Goose, Jules Tratner, Harry Berman, Toby Decker, Arthur Heiser, Bud Marks, Herman Davidson, Rosalie Grudy, John Beck, Anat Nilo, Rini Brockman, Faye Goldman, Bernard Robinson, and Herman Vogel. Is there anyone else present who's observing Yortzeit? If so, won't you please rise and share with us the name of your precious loved one?
And we also add these loved ones: Richard Lowy, Richard Kramer, Laura Lipner, Craig Corin, all those who lost their lives in Morocco and Libya.
Zichronam Levracha, may the memory of all these precious loved ones be for a blessing and a never-ending source of strength. We remember the 6 million who died in the Holocaust. We hold them in our hearts along with our loved ones who have died, and in solidarity with the mourners, we now rise as a congregation and recite together
Page 23.
on page 23. Yitkada v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yomad divrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah muvarach leolam ulamei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved, and let us say amen. Please be seated. It's a pleasure to invite Dave Neustadt to come back up on the beam and share with us the announcements for this Shabbat and Yom Tov.
Hello again. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova. There are so many dedicated members of our community who volunteer their time to enrich our High Holiday experience. Thank you to Marianne Schermerhorn and Linda and David Long for making our sanctuary shine, and to Linda Beckler and Marianne Schermerhorn and everyone who contributed to Oneg we're about to enjoy. We'd also like to thank Nancy, Sarah, and Josh Friedman, who have donated the flowers in loving memory of Eric Friedman, and Robin Apple and Jim Morris, who have donated flowers in loving memory of Barbara Bloom. To Donna Smith and Matthew Hackett, we thank you for enriching our services with your musical talents, and we thank Ari Gwozdov for both his technical and creative skills in managing our sound system and our live stream. If you haven't sent Lindy a photo of your family to be used in our Yom Kippur slideshow, please do so by this Wednesday. Services begin at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're so looking forward to honoring this year's Hineni recipients, Tom and Marlene Giuliano, and to the best shofar service in the West. At 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, families with young children and all those that are young at heart are invited to join us at Victory Park for Rosh Hashanah's Family's Fun Experience. We hope to see everyone at Victory Park at 5 p.m. for Tashlich, as we symbolically cast away our sins and enjoy a bring your own picnic dinner. Because Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbat this year, we'll also be doing Havdalah in the park. Yom Kippur services begin at 8 p.m. on Sunday, September 25th. And don't forget about the fantastic, amazing, awesome holidays of Sukkot and Simchat Torah. Watch your emails for details. If you're not on our email list, please contact via our website or call the office. a lot of announcements. We appreciate all those who support our community throughout the year. If you would like to make special donation in honor of these high holidays, pledge cards can be found on the tables in the back of the sanctuary and in the gallery. Completed cards can be placed in the blue boxes provided. And if you'd like to donate the gift of time, we'll be hosting Family Promise guests in a few weeks. Connect with Kathy Meyer or Karma for more information about volunteer opportunities. Lashana Tova, may you have a good and sweet new year.
Thank you, Dave. Didn't realize when we invited you up, you were going to be reading the whole phone book. If you invite Kolo to come and join us on the Bima.
Any of our children in our learning lab?
And let's all stand for our concluding song, O Say Shalom.
And it's on page 24 if you need the words, but I think you all know it.
And if you're not too skittish, we invite you to embrace one another.
Just keep getting in the way of
They all left.
Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
And we have a beautiful round challah
With
made by
honey.
Deborah Blinder.
Which I think you're going to get.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, with honey
Got
right
honey
there.
in it, right in it. I'll try. I don't want it. There's honey. I don't know. Can you see?
Ari, can you get a close-up on the screen?
Baruch
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Now, we're going to go from here into Rosenberg Hall for the Oneg, but I want to remind you of one thing. You know, we say to each other, what's the greeting this time of year? We say, shh, Shana Tova. What does Shana Tova mean? A good year. It doesn't mean Happy New Year. We can't guarantee happiness, right? But we can guarantee goodness. That we have agency about. So we say Shana Tova to a good year, and if you want to add a little bit more, Shana Tova u'metucha. Metuka, to a good and sweet new year. Shana Tova
And let's all say
Metuka.
it to everybody at home too.
On the
Turn
count of
around.
Shalosh to the camera. Shana
Shana
Tova.
Metuka.
And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Lehar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Lehar Kodsho. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim.